Cacio e pepe is Italian for basically cheese and pepper. It's a Roman dish, and that's really all that's in it. You've got hot pasta, you've got grated pecorino romano, and you've got ground black pepper. Now, I'm not gonna put a ton of pepper in mine because I freaking don't like a lot of black pepper, but you are welcome to add as much pepper as you like. And in Italy, if you're in Rome, they add a lot of black pepper to the point where you're like, oh, that is like a nuclear amount of black pepper. What we've got here is grated pecorino romano. Now, a really important key to success is this cheese needs to be at room temperature. Totally fine. Cheese does not go bad at room temperature, I promise. That's actually how cheese is made. Same with yogurt. Like, it sits at room temperature and it becomes cheese, right? So grating this and then letting it sit out is fine. But another really important point is this is really finely ground. Like, this is halfway to a powder. The reason why that's really important is because this is going to be cooked, this cheese is going to be melted only with the heat of 1 cup of pasta cooking water and the heat of the noodles themselves. So if these pieces of cheese are any bigger, there's not going to be enough heat to melt them all the way through. So pecorino romano is a really delicious cheese. It's a sheep's milk cheese. It has like this beautiful bite. I think sometimes it can be made with goat's milk as well, but this particular one is a sheep's milk cheese, and it's delicious. For this dish, reserving a cup of pasta water is so important. Without the pasta water, you actually don't have a dish, right? So while your pasta is cooking, you get it started, it's kind of doing its thing, it's not all the way cooked yet, we're gonna make our sauce. And in the middle of the pasta cooking, we're gonna take this little cup here, and we're gonna dip it in, and we're gonna grab some water while the pasta is still cooking. We're gonna put it in here, we're gonna mush it all together with this wooden spoon. That hot water is going to melt this cheese. We're gonna add the pepper, and then it can sit for just a minute or two while the pasta finishes cooking. We immediately take the hot pasta and put it into the bowl, toss it with the tongs, and then it's done. The reason that you have to use pasta cooking water and not just regular boiling hot water is the pasta cooking water has starch in it. The starch that kind of like came off the noodles as they were cooking and moving around in the water. And that starch is so important with binding the sauce and holding it together, right? The starch actually thickens the sauce. It thickens the cheese. Like, there's water, like it kind of brings them both together and makes them congeal into one beautiful creamy sauce. If you don't use starchy water, it's not going to have the same texture. When it comes to salt in this dish, you really don't need to add much more. This is a pretty salty cheese, and we've already salted the pasta water, so the pasta will be seasoned as well. So in the end, taste it. If you like it, you're welcome to add more salt, but I don't think you're gonna need it between the salt in the cheese and the salt in the water. If you like a saucier sauce, like, you're always welcome to add a little bit more pasta water. So we're gonna reserve some and use it, but before you strain your pasta out, you can always take a second cup and grab a little bit more extra water. Now on this dish, you have to move fast. And the water has to be super boiling hot, like straight out of the pot. You can't like strain it out, let it sit there and let the water kind of cool off while you like fuss around and do whatever you're gonna do. Like, this dish needs to be made quickly. It's super easy and it's super fast, but that means you need to move fast. Everything needs to be super hot and you need to have everything ready to go. So we've got our pasta cooking right now. We've got our little measuring cup here for pulling out the pasta water. We've got our bowl of shredded cheese. We've got our wooden spoon for initially making the sauce. We've got our tongs for tossing the noodles in the sauce. We've got our black pepper. And in case we need it, we've got a little extra salt. So we're gonna start making our sauce. Let's get started. We've got our pasta cooking right here. And I'm gonna really quickly just grab a cup of water. And then I'm gonna cover this back up a little bit, leaving the top askew so it doesn't boil over, because I don't wanna be like engulfed in steam while we're filming. So I'm gonna pour this in, and I'm gonna move quickly, and I'm gonna add my pepper. Boop, in we go. Even that looks like a lot of black pepper to me. You're gonna mash it up. You can see here it's already starting to melt, and you gotta move quickly, right? You have to agitate it really quickly, give it a stir, mash it with the back of the spoon, keep going. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. And you wanna keep doing it until you've got a relatively creamy sauce. Stir, stir, stir. It might actually take a second, and you wanna keep it moving. It's important to remember that pecorino is a hard cheese, so it's not gonna melt really easily. This is why everything needs to be super freaking hot, right? So we're just gonna keep mixing with the hot water. You don't wanna add any more hot water, right? If it starts to like clump up, like, there's other ways we can fix it, but we do not wanna add more hot water because it'll just make it too wet and saucy. All right, we've got our sauce. It's mostly creamy, and you can see I was moving pretty fast, and it still has a little bit of melting to go. It's all right if it's not like perfectly creamy. This can take a little while to get right, but this looks pretty good. Like we've got a nice even sauce here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna add our pasta, our hot pasta to the sauce. We're gonna reserve a little bit more pasta water just in case we need it, but we're gonna take our noodles and strain them in the sink and then immediately add them to this bowl. So I'm gonna go strain them and I'll be right back. Alrighty, we've got our hot noodles. They're still steaming. I've got my extra little bit of pasta water, and we're gonna add these directly to our sauce. I'm gonna get rid of the wooden spoon, and we're gonna toss them gently with these tongs. These are hot noodles, and we're gonna need these to finish cooking the cheese in the sauce. But you don't wanna smush your noodles. So you just wanna toss it quickly and gently, like this. And the tongs are the best way to do this because it keeps the noodles from getting smushed. So we're gonna keep doing this until it melts. Gonna keep going. This might take a second. Keep turning. I'm actually gonna turn off my cooktop over here because it's bubbling away. There we go. Ta-da! You can see as it's starting to come together, there might still be little bits of cheese. Like in a perfect world, it's a perfectly creamy sauce and there are no chunks. But sometimes that's just the reality of life in the kitchen, right? Alrighty, we've got our sauce. It's about as melted as it's gonna get. We're gonna plate this into a bowl really quick and give it a taste. Whoop. Ta-da. Let's see what we've got here. Smells amazing. Let's taste it. Oh my God. It does not need any more salt. Doesn't need any more pasta water. It's delicious. It's such a simple dish. It takes like no time at all. It's so good.